Well, in case you're wondering, like, Sai, what are you doing? The game's not over yet. Why are you starting your program? This game ended well before it technically started. The Golden State Warriors, three members representing the veteran core, Steph, Dre, Jimmy, just DNPing it tonight, taking the night off. Jonathan Kuminga telling his head coach, yeah, I'm done playing for you. He white flagged it, technically a lower back issue. And then my good friend here, one of my closest friends, Connor Letourneau. I'm not just bringing friends on the program. This man was the Warriors beat reporter. How many years did you cover the Warriors, Connor?
It's always a gray area, but let's say 6, because I covered them both as a beat writer and an enterprise writer, but as a beat writer, 6 years.
6 years. So yeah, you have quite a bit of knowledge in terms of what's going on with this team. And truth is, Connor, if you wanted to keep talking hoops, you'd be no different than a whole bunch of other former beat writers out there who just keep it going even after they move on from the position. And dude, we've all got opinions. Your opinions have some merit because, again, you literally you covered this team before they had tiers of access, before they instilled a class system. Like you would have been tier 1 anyways, but I
also covered them into the tiers, and I was tier 1 for the record.
There you go. But point is, this team, these players, Steph. If people follow you on Instagram, like there's pictures of you and your family where Steph's like just doing selfies, and you have been ingrained with this Warriors team for a long time. So if anyone can join this program without technically covering the team currently, I'd say you're at the top of the list. And
I'd argue it's even better that I don't cover the team currently because I'm like an objective observer now. I have I'm not like in it. I'm not too close to it. I'm like far enough removed where I can just be an expert opinion that's also removed enough to have an objective opinion.
Yeah, there you absolutely right, brother. And again, the Warriors game is still on. They're currently losing by 37 points. We'll give you all sorts of stats and stuff when the final buzzer sounds. But Connor, I think you and I are in agreement, man. It's safe to say, given the way that Steve Kerr, the messaging we've heard this week, the rotational decisions, this is a fleeting final moments of a dynasty is what we're watching. And what makes this interesting, at least to me, is that you have an owner in Joe Lacob who did not want this scenario. Like, this was not what he was aiming for. He has made it very clear. I don't know if it was an interview with you. It was with somebody, certainly, where he said that he did not want a replication of the Kobe Bryant final years, where it's just basically an extended farewell tour. Yeah, that's what we have. And shit's interesting. You and I talk a lot. Like, you're fascinated about this Kaminga thing because it makes no sense. It's just completely...
Nothing about this team makes any sense. That's part of why I wanted to go on here today. I mean, full disclosure, like I rarely have the house to myself on a Friday night. I'm home alone. The wife is out. And I texted Cyrus, my buddy, and I was like, yo, I'm down to go on tonight because I need to talk about what's going on with this team. You and I text off air all the time about the team, and I'm like, I need to air some thoughts.
Kev F in our chat saying Last Dance. I think Last Dance was like 3 years ago. Like when I hear the term Last Dance, I think of a contending team, like a team with one last shot. This team has no shot. They're cooked, and it's all the machinations of the coaching staff. It's by design, which is just adding to the lunacy of all this. We're going to talk about it. We're powered by FanDuel. I didn't say that the last time you were on, Connor. Proud to have them as a sponsor. And the program is called the Golden Days. Let's go. Welcome to the program. Armando Lara, the professor with UC Berkeley, host of Sprewell Was Right. He's going to join us in moments. I think he's actually currently hosting an episode of Sprewell Was Right. The moment that is done, he's going to join the program. And then, Connor, you stick around as long as you want as part of that. But we have you right now. We're brought to you by FanDuel. And real quickly, while this Warriors game is still technically going on, they have another one tomorrow, which is a huge reason why so many players sat out and are resting. And a huge reason why they DNP'd is because the Utah Jazz are in town tomorrow, a team the Warriors already have defeated once this season, a team that the Warriors have a far more favorable matchup against. And the bookies agree. The Warriors are currently 12.5-point favorites over the Jazz tomorrow, courtesy of FanDuel, the official sports book and title sponsor of the program. The money line, if you think Utah is going to pull off an upset, plus 390, the OU on that, 239.5. Connor, one thing that amuses the ever-living shit out of me with the FanDuel Sportsbook is the OU on win totals, because you can bet on that throughout the season. Like we did a show here before the season started, just making our predictions in terms of what each team's going to do with over-unders and whether or not they're going to go over that, under that for seasonal win totals. But you can keep betting on this throughout the season. And the reason why I giggle at this, and this amuses me like I'm a silly child, is because the Warriors, you have not been able to bet on their win total for weeks. The bookies are so flummoxed, like they're perplexed by the product. It's so unpredictable. It's so nonsensical that you can't touch it. The last time they had a line, it was 45.5, which they could hit. It might end up being somewhere close to that, because the Warriors have shown they can beat the lesser teams, the average teams, but they're not elite. Like the moment they play a real NBA team, they get sent a message. But that's the line from FanDuel. Connor Letourneau, how can people follow you on social media?
I'm on Twitter at @con_cron. That's really the best way to follow me on social media in terms of my professional accounts. I post all my stuff. Like we said earlier, I used to cover the Warriors. I was a sports writer at the Chronicle for 9 years. 6+ of those years I was Warriors writer, and then I also did Sports Enterprise, and now I'm News Enterprise. So I do bigger stories on the news side, little weightier, little more somber stuff, but I'm enjoying it. And I still follow the Warriors though, like as a casual observer. Honestly, I follow the Warriors mainly through your podcast. So props to you. Well, I don't actually watch the Warriors that much. I follow your podcast.
Well, and I'm sure if you follow, thank you for that. That's an incredible compliment, brother. And look, man, I read every one of your stories. I think the only one I haven't read yet was the profile piece on one of the victims of a shooting in the Central Valley a few weeks back. We're in Stockton, right? Sacramento.
Yeah, Stockton. Yeah.
And just tragic. And I haven't read that yet, just because I need to be in the right mind space. But everything you do professionally is what I teach, at least what I have been teaching. I don't know if my career is going to continue because no one's going to school anymore, but which is very sad. That's a whole other talking point. But we're here to talk Warriors. And I'm not going to play the soundbite. It's a couple days old already, but Steve Kerr has been going on his buddy Tom Tolbert's show, right? They played together at Arizona, and they've stayed friends for decades after that. It's the Tweedledee Tweedledum podcast, which is what that's going to become, because Steve Kerr, I'm guessing him and Tom are going to do a show together. Anyways, I bring that up. Sorry for the slight, but I say that largely because of the fact that it's really just a show to make Kerr look good. I mean, again, Tom's his buddy, but Kerr revealed something that I thought was fascinating in his recent appearance on that show, which was admitting that this team is basically on its tail end and they can't compete with teams like the Thunder and the Spurs anymore. That he basically came out publicly and said, this is no longer a title contending team, which is batshit crazy to me. And above all else, in terms of the what makes this so befuddling is, if this is what you are as a team now, why are you playing veterans on a night-by-night basis? Like, why are guys like Buddy Hield, Al Horford, GP2, like, what is the point? Why have you not, like, why even keep this core together? If it's over, like, admit it's a farewell tour, so at least we can watch these games and go on the ride in a celebratory mood, not a I thought we're contenders, I'm confused mood. And this, it's just craziness to me. What's your thoughts?
Well, I texted you earlier. I think I texted you even a screenshot from that podcast, and I was like,
You did.
What is the point? And by the point, I mean of the entire season. Like, what is going on here? That's my big question.
Welcome to the party, brother.
What is this team's identity? What are they trying to accomplish? What is the point? Because I don't think any of us really know. And unless you know the answer to that question, you can't know what they're going to do, what trade machinations they're considering. You can't know anything. I genuinely don't know, because there's so many contradictory things going on within this organization in terms of how Steve is playing his rotations, the interview sound bites Steve is having. Obviously the leaked email from Lacob. Like, what's going on? Like,
dude,
and to be completely honest with you, I've kind of been wondering that for years now. This isn't like the first year I've wondered that. Let's be honest, really since 2022, this team has been in like this weird no man's land where it's
since the punch, ever since the Draymond punch, I just feel like it's just spiraled. It's just been a plane like trying to stay up. It's just
and the punch was, I believe the punch was preseason of the following season, right? So
correct.
It's like, it's like, what is going on? Like they act and talk like they're this dynastic team still a lot of the time, and they kind of have the surface level appearance of that, yet a lot of their day-to-day decisions don't reflect that. And the sound bites that Steve is giving, like, let me reiterate, like, I don't watch every game, but I follow the podcast, I follow the sound bites, and I listen to all the interviews. And the things Steve is saying remind me a lot of like 2019-20 Warriors, like when they were really bad.
Yes.
And like the other years where they were like a play-in team, and it's like, the thing that always bothered me is Steve would act like they're a really strong team and he can't decide between playing these players, but it's like you're below 500 though.
Yeah.
Like these players that you're totally confused about and you're acting like they're so talented, they're not actually that talented. Like if you look at a lot of these guys, they're not even in the league anymore. Like, so that's where I get confused.
Well, and the love affair he has with Podziemski is confusing. Side note, I want to address one thing real quick. A few people feigned outrage. It was utter crocodile tear type stuff. Just pretending you're offended by the fact that I basically hung up on a caller last show. I didn't even realize anything was going on, but then there were like 4 or 5 people in the YouTube comments acting like they were just outraged, like, how dare you like talk to this kid like that? I want to make one thing very clear. That audience member, kid or not, we have no idea who he is. He's completely anonymous. He's been gaslighting this show for almost a year.
I listened to it, yeah.
And what I implore and beg anyone, and what to preface what happened with this kid, Desiree or whatever, I've asked him time and time and again, stop coming on this show and bringing up those net rating stats if they don't include 5-man lineups, because it's not an objective stat. And
Cyrus, you and I are friends, right? So
of course,
being friends, you can hold each other a little accountable, right?
Please. Yes.
And I will say, when I was listening to it, I didn't blame you for being upset with him, but there was part of me as your friend that was like, your obsession with whether or not he went to college and was educated. I thought that was a little personal, because here's the thing, Cyrus, like, everyone has personal circumstances. Like, you don't know his personal situation.
I kind of do though. That's the problem. He's been coming on the show.
Okay,
for so long,
my thing listening to it was like, what if he's on like mental health leave?
I know. Look, like, this is a kid who's been gaslighting this program for almost a year. I've tolerated it way too much. I had to ban him once for using the N-word in our chat repeatedly. There was a history with this guy.
Okay. Well,
and again, if you're not aware of that, I can understand you having that perspective. And it's why I keep encouraging this specific kid, if he's a kid. And a huge reason why I never look at it as it being personal is because we don't know who this guy is. I don't know who he is. I don't know what his real name is. It's not like,
well, anyone who's casually using the N-word, I was trying to kind of stand up for him, and now I'm no longer going to do that.
There's just a lot. He has this massive track record, and I just kept forgiving him for whatever reason. He's still, I don't think I banned him permanently either. I mean, I usually just put him in a like 5 or 10 minute timeout because he is young, just to let him breathe and take a second. But that I also don't like repeating myself over and over again with the same person, right? At a certain point, like, I just got to move on, and you're going to frustrate me. And not to mention that was like an early morning episode where like I'm already on, I'm not exactly at my most patient of moods at like 12:30 in the afternoon when we're usually doing shows at 9:30 at night. And this is actually very early. I digress. The point is, no, this was not just some random person. There was a history there.
Okay.
Gaslight.
No, I knew there was history. I didn't know there was that much history. So I think I'm kind of voicing maybe the the average listener who doesn't know every detail, is someone who's married to a black woman who has a biracial son. Anyone who's casually using the N-word has no sympathy for me, and I'm going to stop defending you right now. So,
well, and again, and the whole education thing is for that reason, because he's been on a show previously where, you know, I can't remember what the context was exactly, but he was saying something like, I don't need school, I'm fine. Like, he was saying shit like that. And so there's a history there where it's like, so, look, and in general, I'm always going to be pro education. Please get educated, you know, like develop the critical thinking skills you need to comprehend and understand how the world works. And that includes coming on a program that talks about the Warriors and repeating net rating statistics that are very flawed. I just felt like he was egging me on by first saying defensive rating, and then I was like, wait, so what? Half of net rating? He goes, no, it's not net rating. And he's just trying to, and then he's sitting here telling me, well, he played 800 something minutes, so that's a large enough sample size for it to no longer be subjective. And
he reminds me of a lot of people I used to know who are just all about, like, they act like if they know these super high level analytic stats that they're an expert, and that's just not how it works. So.
Especially with the net rating stuff. And again, this is a fairly new statistic in the advanced analytics world that we continue learning about in the NBA. But net rating is an interesting one that the more I've learned about it, it's a great stat, provided you're looking at it with full context, meaning like, okay, Podziemski, his rookie year, for example, remember, like he led the team in net rating and people were like, damn, dude, that's really impressive. But then I decided one day to do a massive deep dive on that season just to see who he was playing with. And he was only, like, all his minutes were with Steph. Like, right. he would never like had runs with the second unit. So of course his net rating is going to get bolstered. Like last year, and we could go on forever.
The only time I really take net rating seriously, if we're talking about a player over the body of his career who's been on like multiple teams and multiple types of teams. So like you look at someone like Kelly Oubre. Like, I had a huge red flag with him when he joined the Warriors because I was you look at his career, he's never had even close to a positive net rating. This dude's a loser. He's a losing player. Like, he might have decent stats, but he is a loser. And like his career has borne that out. I mean, I don't even know where he's at right now, but he's a loser. Like, and I think that has, you know, I think everyone's finally come to realize that about him. That's just an example.
Yeah. By the way, final score, the game is officially over. If you're joining us live, Connor Letourneau joins us. A very special occasion because Connor is so busy with two primary responsibilities, kind of like Stephen Curry. And this is a nice transition, I think, to the next question I'm going to ask you, because you know Steph personally. And Connor, what I was going to say is you're a very busy man yourself with two primary things occupying your time. One being your job as a front page reporter for the San Francisco Chronicle. Again, congratulations. You're doing phenomenal work, dude.
I love that job title, front page reporter.
What's your official title? Enterprise reporter?
Enterprise reporter.
Okay.
The purpose of my job is to kind of produce front page level stuff. But no, I just like that. I like that title. It sounds good. So
there you go. Well, I'll keep saying it. So that alone takes up a lot of your time. You're a full-time reporter producing news that actually matters for society as a whole. And then your other job is you're a family man. You're married. You got 2 kids, and those 2 things alone, I'm guessing, leave you just enough time to eat, shit, and sleep, right? Is that fair? Any other gaps?
Pretty much. And the reason I'm on the pod right now, as I mentioned earlier, is like I have a rare night where I have the house to myself. My wife and daughter are away, and I'm just in the house with the baby who's asleep right now. So was just, had some free time, and I thought it was a good opportunity to hop on. So
I love it.
That's why I'm here.
You're always welcome. In your opinion, man, what is going through Steph's mind? It's one of the great mysteries within the fan base, more specifically, whether or not like the Kuminga DNPs are because of him, whether or not Podziemski always getting a favorable treatment from Kerr is because of him. And maybe more importantly, like, is the hunger still there? Or is he satisfied with the next year and a half just being like this was a hell of a run?
So
I'm on the way out. Like,
what about Steph? Part of what makes Steph so amazing for the Warriors is that he is the ultimate company man. like he truly is just like a good employee. Like he's the type of guy who's like here to like hold down the bottom line and represent the company the best way he can possibly can. And he has amazing perspective on life. Like he understands, even though he is a competitive individual, obviously you can't be as great as he is without being competitive. He understands like where this all fits in the grand scheme of things. He knows that his legacy is secure. He knows that
are you cool with this, by the way?
Yeah, no, that's cool. And I'll explain it. I'll explain that in a minute for the listeners. By the way, I'm a Spotify listener. I don't watch the YouTube usually. I listen on Spotify. For the listeners out there, Sai is showing pictures from, I believe, my Instagram of my family's visit to the Warriors headquarters recently. So I'm a good 2 years removed from covering the beat now. I still have relationships with the team. A member of the Warriors who I have a good relationship with hit me up recently and was like, hey man, you know, since you're not covering the team anymore, you should come to a practice and bring your family and spend some time with Steph. And my daughter, who's a great athlete, is really into Steph, loves Steph. And I was like, I have to do that. I mean, I wouldn't do that if I was still covering the team because of conflict of interest and all that good stuff. But since I'm not even a sports writer anymore, like there's nothing holding me back from that. And so we
side note, you're one of the only individuals in this whole industry that actually cares about the journalistic integrity of your actions. Most other folks would not preface these pictures by saying, I want to be clear.
No, I that stuff makes me uncomfortable. And so it's important for me to preface that because I would never do that if I was still covering the team at all.
Good. Like, yeah, I 100% support that.
I didn't take, you know, we could have taken those perks. We didn't, or at least I didn't when I was covering the team because I didn't think it was right. But since I'm not a sports writer anymore, I took them up on the offer and brought my family to a practice a couple weeks ago. We had like kind of an exclusive experience for watching Steph's shooting routine at the end of the practice, literally on the sideline. It was a day where there was no media there at all because they had, I think, Players Association meeting, which they have every year. And so it was just us watching him. And at the end of him shooting, he just walked over to my 18-month-old and my 9-year-old and just chopped it up with us for a good 5+ minutes and, you know, signed their jerseys, took pictures, did the whole 9 yards. And for him to do that, you know, he and I know each other. We have a good relationship, but like for him to do that really meant a lot because not a lot of people would do that.
That's a beautiful picture. Some of these pictures are beautiful. And again, this is your Instagram account at @con_.
Yeah, and you can see like in that picture, he's holding my phone. Like he took my phone and is taking the selfie. And for me personally, if I can get a little mushy here, it was a special moment because for me it was a very full circle moment. You know, I had covered the Warriors in my 20s. I was single most of that time. Toward the end of that time, I met my now wife. And my priorities shifted in life. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to travel all the time. I don't want to be on the road doing this every day. And I want to settle down with this beautiful woman and have a family. And so I made some changes in my professional life. I moved to Sports Enterprise and then eventually News Enterprise. And now I never travel pretty much for work. I'm kind of a 9-to-5 grinder in terms of the work stuff. And so for me to be able to bring my family to meet him and have that moment was very cool because it was like my two lives intersecting. You know what I mean? It was like, that's who I used to be. This is who I am now. You get to see who I am now. And multiple players came up to me while we were there, including like Jonathan Kuminga and saw Draymond and stuff. And they were, you know, they're just remarking on how cool it was to see my family because they knew me and they probably knew that I was like a single dude, like grinding, and they see me now and I'm very different, you know? So it was just really cool, man. It
was absolutely cool. And then what are your thoughts, your opinion on Steph? Do you think deep inside the hunger is there? Cause here's my take and let me know what you think. I'll just share with you what I've been telling the folks. I know you've been hearing this on the show.
You already know my take because you and I talk, but
yeah, exactly. But I'd love to have the audience hear it, which is, Steph he's a busy man, like you're slammed. Anyone in this world who is providing for their family and and or has a full-time job on top of that, like how difficult of a grind that is. Steph's grind is not just being one of the greatest basketball players ever, which includes taking care of his body, practices, games, travel, all the locker room complexities that come with the position of being one of the team captains, being the leader. But then he also has the entertainment company, right?
Right.
Like he has a team. I don't know if they renewed that show.
There's so many all the endorsements. He has a lot of responsibility on him.
Yeah. And so, and he had that TV show, which I forgot the name of it. I don't know if they're going to have a second season on Peacock, where he meets up with his old high school basketball player teammate and tries to rejuvenate his life. So there's that, and that's a comedy. He's got like animated movies coming out. He's got sort of a Space Jam thing coming that's strictly animated. So he's busy with that. Who knows what's going on with the shoe thing, right? I'm gonna guess he's gonna sign with Nike at some point in the near future. And he's got a family with 4 kids, like his own social media account. I'll share this as well, since I'm showing mushy family photos of Instagram. Let me show you Stephen Curry's real fast. What he just posted most recently, because when you see this, it warms the cuckles. It does. I don't know how else to spin that. Here. This is a Stephen Curry's Instagram account, and the most recent picture is from when they were in Charlotte.
By the way, is it just me? Or, like,
it's not just you. He looks like Caius. Caius looks like
our sons look similar. I think. And he even made a comment to me when he met my son. Like, he didn't say they looked similar, but he instantly brought up his son, and he could tell right away that they're the same age. I think they're a month apart. And it was cool kind of seeing Steph on that level, because even though I've seen Steph with his family, I've always known he was a family man. Being a family man myself now, we kind of bonded a little bit over, having a kid the same age. And it was just really cool. And I could see the way he interacted with my kids.
Yeah.
How genuine he is and how much of a dad he is. Like, only a dad would kind of interact with my kids the way he did. He was just like treating them, like an uncle or something, like he was just really cool. And I'll always appreciate him for that. And, but to your point, Cyrus, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, but Steph has perspective. Mm-hmm. He knows that the hay is in the barn in terms of his legacy. Now, would it be nice to get another championship? 100%. But what matters more, getting another championship if it meant like on another team, or ending his career with the Warriors? In terms of his legacy, probably ending his career with the Warriors. And so he's just going to ride it out and be a company man and do what he has to do that. And, he doesn't really have veto power or full say over what the roster looks like. And so at a certain point, even though he's probably the highest paid player, highest paid person in the organization, he has to kind of be a good employee. And that's exactly what he's doing.
And going back to my whole point, you see that family, you saw those pictures. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're listening on the podcast, we just went through Stephen Curry's most recent Instagram post following Connor, I believe your most recent Instagram post. And the theme with both these posts is family. And I guess what I'm getting at is, I think when if Steph was hard pressed to answer this question, what do you care more about? The happiness of your family, or playing NBA basketball as long as you can to fortify your legacy even more? When I don't think it's needed, but he would tell you his family's happiness is the priority.
So one of my most memorable times with Steph was my first year on the beat. We went to Charlotte, and I got the opportunity to kind of shadow him around Charlotte. And we went to Charlotte Christian, his alma mater. And everyone knows Steph is deeply Christian. He's deeply religious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was a private moment. There were no cameras in the locker room. He had like a one-on-one conversation with the team, the Charlotte Christian basketball team. And he took that opportunity to talk to them about his purpose. And he was talking to them about how he believes that he is on this earth and that God gave him this amazing basketball talent to be a vessel for Christ. and that he is here to serve the world and to be a vessel for Christ through basketball. And he truly meant this. This was a very genuine interaction that I got to witness and be, to be privy to. And I think that's his MO with life. Like, he doesn't lose sight of that. It's not some cliche thing. Like, he understands the bigger purpose here. Like, yeah, it'd be great if he won another title, but at the end of the day, he's here to bring joy to millions of people through Christ. That's how he feels. That's who he is. It's not some act.
Yeah, I absolutely. And this is why, for me, the frustration goes back to Kerr, because what I'm realizing more and more, and I see the professor Armando Lara is joining us in just a second. This Warriors game, a final 130-194. We will talk about it, but we're going to get to that. And Armando, just sit tight. I'm going to bring you on in just 1 second, I promise. But the Steve Kerr thing, the primary difference in terms of if you're going to analyze, let's say, Popovich and him, if you're going to do a comparison, Popovich loved Tim Duncan as much as Steve Kerr loved Steph Curry, but Popovich, his focus still first and foremost was the San Antonio Spurs, the team, the organization. When I see Steve Kerr, I don't get that message from him. The message I get from Kerr is Stephen Curry is first and foremost the priority, and I'm just here for him at this point. If the team burns, the team burns. So, like, that's the gist I'm getting, and I don't like it. And on that note, we welcome the professor Armando Lara to the program. Armando, meet Connor Letourneau. Connor, Armando, you two have never met, I don't believe. Let me switch up the graphic. Armando, you just finished up the Sprewell Was Right podcast, which you host quite frequently. You cover the games live. You're also a professor, a tenured professor at UC Berkeley. I'm starting to laugh. It's mind blowing to say that out loud, man. It's an incredible a title to say. It's impressive, man. The two gentlemen I have next to me, front page reporter, San Francisco Chronicle, tenured professor, UC Berkeley. That is not bad for a lineup of intelligence and acumen, especially
real quick. My first beat at the Chronicle was covering Cal sports. I did it for 1 year. It was the year that they had Jaylen Brown, and it was Jared Goff's last year.
Wow.
And my favorite part of that job was just being on the campus every day. That was my favorite part of the job. I actually didn't really like the job because Cal athletics were very difficult to deal with. And how
so? Because they wouldn't answer your calls, or
the joke that I like to say, but it's true, is that it was harder to get a one-on-one with the backup quarterback at Cal than it was with Steph Curry, and that is true. They were more intense about getting, Cal was more intense about letting me talk to the backup quarterback at Cal. Like if I went up one-on-one with a football player after practice and tried to have a one-on-one, they would like freak out. Whereas the Warriors, it's like, yeah.
So they were really dead set on controlling the messages.
They were controlling as hell. And as a journalist, I couldn't handle that. I was like,
I honestly
just trying to do my job, dude. Like,
right. And I don't think there's been I think that was the pinnacle. I don't know if Jaylen Brown and Jared Goff could be topped in Cal sports since then. And Armando,
the sad thing is they had Jaylen Brown and like 3 other NBA players lost in the first round to Hawaii. So
I remember that. That was brutal. So. Armando, is there any famous athletes on the Cal campus today? And great to see you, brother. How you doing?
Pretty good. I'm good. We also have gold medalists in my class every now and then. Swimmers.
Cool, yeah.
Well, they have the quarterback who's going to be very good.
Yeah, it's kind of weird trying to assign homework to a gold medalist. It's like, I don't think so, man.
Quick paid chat here, $5. Kyle Thafard. Writing, such a shame that Lacob, Kerr, Dunleavy Jr., and Steph have signed off on the potential 5th championship for whatever gain. And Armando, let's start with you, just because you just jumped on. What was your reaction to the game? I did not watch the whole thing. I did watch 3+ quarters of it. I thought Will Richard was one of the bright sides. I thought Moses Moody was a bright side. Trace Jackson Davis had moments. I think that's about it in terms of what I can say were positives. Anything you want to add to that? How are you doing?
Oh, I got a ton to say about tonight and the last week. But My question, though, what I just heard about Berkeley cued me in. So the organization puts pressure on journalists. That's kind of what I heard. Is that what I heard?
Well, the access was not great.
And Cal Athletics PR, it sounds like is.
It's not so much the university it's more the athletic department communication staff, and I don't want to like be overly general. I did have some great people in that department. It was just football specifically was difficult at the time, and it was frustrating for me. I only did it for a year, and then there was a.
I remember I met one of the head coaches for Cal football. This was like 10 years ago. And we were drinking a beer, and he told me that every coach there, they know they're not going to be there for long. So it's just a stepping stone for them to go somewhere else.
Was this Sonny Dykes?
I don't know who. Some guy with a beard. I'm not sure. I have no idea who it was. He was like ripping on the whole university. It was pretty funny.
I hope it's changing now with NIL, but like for a long time, there was a lot of controversy and conflict between, the university and the athletic department. It might still be the case. But yeah, every coach got frustrated because the university made it very hard for them to do their jobs. Like I found out later that initially Jaylen Brown did not get into Cal.
Oh, damn.
And they had to like fight that. They had to fight that. And he wasn't even like a horrible student. He just wasn't up to Cal standards. And they're
crazy.
But they're like, dude, guys, it's Jaylen Brown, like 5-star recruit. Like, we're so lucky to have this guy. And he initially didn't get in, from what I heard.
Yeah.
And so, and then he ended up representing the university wonderfully academically. He like took a grad level course as a freshman, and we all wrote about it, and like, it made the school look great. And it's like from what I heard, there was a problem with making that happen. So
that's crazy. Well, there's levels to this. I feel like every organization you can nitpick their PR, which is also the reason why, Connor, I think you and I are in agreement that Raymond Ritter is just in a class of his own in terms of how to handle the press, the do's and don'ts. He gets it, and that's not
the thing I love about Raymond Ritter, and I'm sure most people who are listening to this are probably familiar with Raymond Ritter, but he's the head PR guy for the Warriors, and he's been there for 30 years. And what I love about him is he truly understands what our job is, and he allows us to do our job. And it's a truly collaborative relationship. He gave me some of my best story ideas when I was the Warriors writer. He would be like, hey, how about you do this? And I'd be like, hell yeah, let's do it. And then he would give me the access. It was incredible.
He is incredible. He's amazing. He just knows the do's and don'ts. And again, Connor, you've dealt with all the teams, at least most of them. Armando, I don't know how much experience you have with PR departments for sports organizations, college and pro, but you never know what you're going to get with each team. Like I hear, for example, the Sacramento Kings, I have not heard the same level of positive things about them. I had great experiences with Pelicans PR. Niners PR is classy. Baseball PR, just depend. Again, it's all levels to it. Let's go back to the Warriors though, because they got their asses. Yeah. What's up?
It's individual to the team. But the Warriors, exactly. The Warriors have won the PR award, I think, like 8 years in a row.
Makes sense. And the Sharks, at least from my experience, were phenomenal at it as well. In terms of just taking care of media, knowing the do's and don'ts, providing access with athletes and coaches.
My last thing about that, one of the things I loved about the Warriors is anyone who followed my coverage knew that especially toward the end of my time when I was an enterprise writer, I did hold the team accountable.
Yeah.
Like I did kind of columns and, I held the team accountable, and like, I never, ever got a call, like getting mad at me about anything I wrote. It was always like a conversation. There were times where Ray would call me and be like, hey man, let's talk about this. You were a little hard on this thing, but let's have a conversation about it, which I'm happy to do that. It was never like, how dare you say this about this person, which I've gotten in other aspects of my, in other realms of my career. But that's one thing I always respect about Ray and the Warriors is even when I was hard on them, they did not like take it overly personally.
Who do you think when Raymond would call you about a story, who do you think was egging him on to do that? Because I highly doubt he was doing it of his own volition. Do you think it was more Lacob or Kerr or a mixed bag?
There were a couple times where he'd be like, hey, some people said some things about this, and he wasn't always specific, but there were also times where the thing about Ray is like, he really runs that ship. Like,
yeah.
So like, it was really all his own opinions. Like, I covered them for 6+ years, and I'm going to be completely honest with you. I didn't have every PR man's cell number, like, because I didn't need them, because I went to Ray,
right?
For everything, because Ray was the dude, like, so
he's amazing. But tonight though, Raymond, nobody could have helped the Warriors. 131-94 the final. They put up a fight for about a quarter, and then the second quarter, the onslaught really started to cascade. Armando, you and your cousins, how many? Yeah,
we had a long discussion about the state of the Warriors today. I'm on here once a week, and it's a sick, sad joke. I don't know. Am I supposed to like be? Is this ABC Family, Mondo? Because I feel like we have a guest in the house, or could I go?
No, dude, I don't cover the team anymore. I'm just a random dude.
Armando, I saw you write something about being PC in the chat. We're never going to be PC. I am so anti-political correctness for the simple reason that, I appreciate authenticity. I appreciate transparency. I appreciate genuineness. And PC goes against all that.
I think that's why Cyrus and I are friends. Honestly.
No, I don't know about the PC part, but if you don't work for the Warriors, then it's all good. I'm ready to unleash. So
even if they work for the Warriors, unleash anyways, man.
Did you think I worked for the Warriors?
Like, yeah.
No.
Well, just let loose, brother. I bring you on here because I want the real.
I covered the Warriors as a beat writer for the San Francisco Chronicle as an objective journalist. I never worked for the Warriors.
All right. Well, tonight was all about the fact that Steve Kerr got his ass handed to him against the Toronto Raptors, and that they were in a clutch game against the Charlotte Hornets. Fourth quarter, 3 minutes to go. That's what tonight was about. And Steve Kerr, they talked in the beginning of the season, he talked about they think about on a week level, they got to win the week. Well, it's a sick, sad joke. They play gimmick ball. Like tonight, they cut it to 10 in the I think that was the second quarter. It's the like trick 4-guard lineup stuff is it's so bad that the other team gets confused. And I'm not kidding about this, chat. Like we were sitting there talking about like the Thunder are like so wide open. They don't know. they actually overpass, and they let the Warriors back in the game a little bit before they just turned it on. They did a little bit of coaching. I don't really see how a team is supposed to compete when the coach literally said they made their run last year and he quit on the season. Like, I don't really get that part of it. And, I freaking love this whole shit show tonight. Think about it. Just add it together. You're talking about rich fans. They showed a picture of a dad and his 3 kids and his wife. He must have paid like $15,000 for those seats at a marquee game against, I don't know whatever it is, but against the defending champions. And no Steph Curry, no Jimmy Butler, because this is the injury ball, piñata ball they play. And, the idea that Jonathan Kuminga quit tonight because he's not trying to help this coach bring him out of Han Solo cryogenesis to help the team. And, good. Aaron Turner's the effing man. And there is a power struggle. And he did quit. And I wouldn't play for that damn coach anyways either. And it's the idea that the player's at fault for that, like the toxic situation that's been created where pretty much the second or third best player on the team is getting DMP'd and doesn't want to help the team because he doesn't want to help. He's literally inventing just to sit out. Like good for him. I applaud that. It's a joke, and the media doesn't call out who's really creating this situation. And they got a game every other night, and I want to look at the schedule this in January and February, and they're about to lose way more games than they think. The Warriors are
one of my big goals tonight of coming on was to, and I'm really happy I'm on a random night where Armando's on, because Armando, I really do enjoy your presence on the pod. I think I love how real you are, and you don't hold back. And I want to ask you both, like, why is Kuminga sitting? Like, why is this happening? Because I haven't seen.
Preface real quick, Connor. Just to preface, Steve Kerr. I feel like you always know when the Warriors are in a bit of trouble when he's making additional media appearances. Like if Steve Kerr is doing interviews, he's trying to save face, right? When things are going great, you only hear from him on his once-a-week show.
This a lot, Cyrus, on the pod, but it's true. Like, he's a media savant, and anyone who's covered the NBA knows probably the main job of being an NBA coach is media. Like, Steve Kerr,
huge part, yeah.
Steve Kerr literally does like 4 press conferences a day on a game day.
All the coaches do, yeah.
It's insane. Like, we're getting their shoot around, pregame, postgame, and then he's doing national stuff. Like, that is like half of his workday.
You're absolutely right.
He's part of his day.
He's the spokesman for the team in a lot of ways. That is a huge part of the job. You're absolutely right.
He's a master at it, and
but I brought his name up, Connor. But I wanted to preface, Connor, the reason why I brought his name up is because today was another one of those days, right? He was on 95.7 The Game, the flagship station of the Golden State Warriors, and I've said this before, I'll say it again, man. 95.7 The Game. If you're in bed with the team as in terms of a media partnership, don't expect objectivity, don't expect criticism from that entity. When I worked at KNBR for those 10 years, there was a strict edict. You never ripped on the Giants. If you did, you were in deep shit. It's a tough lesson to learn when you're young and you're getting into this, that journalistic integrity is hard to find. My point is, Kerr makes an appearance. They had like a midday like dedication to him. He did like a long interview on the station, and it was a very much theme type day surrounding Steve Kerr. And I bring that up because he came on the station and said that Kuminga was going to play. He came on the station. I think it was around noon this afternoon Pacific time. Correct? Don't quote me on that exact time, but it was somewhere in that range. And he said Kuminga is going to get minutes tonight. This is a situation for him to play. I think Kuminga last played December 17th, somewhere in that range. And for Kuminga to a few hours later, and this goes back to Armando, what you said about Aaron Turner, his agent, and who knows who was behind that. I don't know exactly whether this was Kuminga acting on his own volition, whether this was him and Turner having a conference call going, how do we want to approach this? But the back injury, that is one of the best injuries to cite if you don't want to be scrutinized, if you don't want details coming out. My neck, dude, I got a soundbite I play all day, every day on this show that highlights it. But usually we reserve it for old people, not for Jonathan Kuminga. But
my neck, my back, my neck and my back. Oh.
And it's the best injury to feign. I can't think of a better injury to get yourself out of a game for than, oh, my back, god damn. And the way it's structured, Connor, you know this as well as anyone being behind the scenes. He probably didn't even have to tell Kerr. He probably only had to tell Dr. Celebrini, I don't know what to do, doc, but my back is hurting really bad. And then what's Rick going to do? An MRI or like?
They probably didn't even have a conversation. It was probably just Steve.
Exactly.
I mean,
it was just a masterful way to get out of it. But that's not a good look either, right? That's not a good look on Kerr of the Warriors when he's coming out in midday going, yeah, Kuminga's going to play tonight. No, he's not.
I mean, I just find it fascinating that he's going on something like this on a day that's like a pretty big regular season game. That's interesting to me. But it's
Armando, go ahead. Yeah. What are you gonna say?
No, I just want to comment on this JK thing. Like, it's twisted. In my many decades of watching the NBA, I've never actually seen this toxic of a situation, and I don't think Warriors fans have fully caught on to how toxic this is.
I agree. And that to me, and I've told Sai and I have talked, over text and stuff, like, because Sai told me, he's like, I feel like I shouldn't talk too much on the pod about the Kaminga situation because I know people are tired of it. I'm like, bro, It's the only thing that matters.
And they're not even mentioning it they don't even mention his name on the telecast.
It's the only thing that matters.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that matters right now. It affects everything. It affects the entire trajectory of the franchise. Like it's incredibly important. And I personally would like to hear even more about it because I haven't heard an explanation that makes sense to me. Maybe there isn't one that exists, but like if we're going to analyze this from every perspective, you know, I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, they're sitting him because they want to trade him." Why would they sit him if they want to trade him?
Nope.
Like to me, the only explanation that makes sense is Kerr just effing hates him.
No, I know what happened.
Armando, real quick, I'm going to let you spiel. I've been sabotaging you. I apologize, but real quick, just to add to that, if you're Steve Kerr, why do you not send him on his way all these other years and months when he could have just sent a message to the front office? I'm not going to play this guy. Trade him. Like if Kerr feels this way, why not tell the front office? It's starting to feel a little malicious. I'm going to leave it to you, Armando. I'm shutting up now.
No, I think what happened is that early on in the season when Steph Curry got hurt, Steve Kerr went out of the media and bashed Jonathan Kuminga for having a regression. And they were losing games when Steph Curry was out. And I think that was really given the context of the last 3 years and what Steve Kerr's done to Kuminga.
He's done that every year.
I think Kuminga was felt slighted by that. It's like, hey, I thought we talked about that. Like, we're not supposed to do that. And then there were some games when the vets sat out, and Jonathan Kuminga did sit out. He got injured, and remember, Kerr had those comments in the media. Hey, I don't really know what's going on with Kuminga's injury. You have to ask him, not me. And that was him saying, hey, I don't believe this injury, in my humble opinion. And Kuminga sat out. He sat out. And by the way, which was totally predictable because Kuminga, that was a fatigue thing. Kuminga was doing everything on the floor with 3 guards. And after a while, Kerr was punishing him for that. So then he said, you know what? I'm not going to play you again with the starters and the actual wings on the lineup, actually play winning basketball. You're not going to get that. You're going to come in and get this 10-minute, 18-minute thing. And, there was a power struggle in terms of quiet quitting. I really do believe that. And we're actually seeing this back and forth. They're not in communication. It's a total toxic joke, and it's a fireable offense. If the manager of a unit is creating a situation like this where the talent doesn't want to compete for the team, that's not the talent's fault. That's the leader. And it's an effing joke that no media is calling it out. No one's even bringing Kaminga up. And I that's why it's totally toxic. It's totally
Connor.
toxic.
That's why I wanted to ask about it, because like I'm not seeing enough about it. Like if I was the beat writer, I would be finding some sort of angle on this almost every day, because to me it's the only thing that matters. Like I was the guy after the punch where I literally wrote every single day after the punch about the punch for 2 straight weeks.
Nice.
And I remember everyone was like, dude, let it go. Like we're moving on. And I'm like, no, this is the only thing that matters. And so I'm going to write about the only thing that matters. And I'm going to analyze it from every possible perspective that I possibly can, because it's the only thing that matters. And I'm not going to pretend like there's other things that matter when this is the only thing that matters.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And that begs the question, Connor, because right now the only guy, I guess I could come up with 2 names in terms of folks who are actually trying to report the truth and not just, trying to report things that doesn't make people offended at them, right? Which is the worst thing that you should be doing as a journalist is worrying about how people think about you. Let them worry about your work and make sure your work is flawless, so there's nothing to nitpick about it. Like that is the sense I get repeatedly from the majority of this media scene is. And I had a long conversation with someone very recently strictly about this, because I just kind of had my fill of all these people who were just afraid to criticize Steve Kerr. And the prevailing sentiment from this person that I heard and from everyone else is that, look, I got a family to feed, and I'm not bullshitting, man. And I got a family to feed, and Cy, I don't want to be on the fringe. I don't want to be a fringe person and be on the outside.
To be honest, man, like, and like, I don't even like whoever said that. I don't even like fault them that much because like it is a real thing. And like, that's part of why I had to leave sports. Cause like for me, like
toxic,
the basic reason why like I had like a almost a moral dilemma with sports was like, on a basic level, to do your job well, you have to be in the good graces of the team that you cover. And to have access to these players, to have access to the coach, for them to be willing to talk to you, you can't piss them off that too much. And if you do, then you're like calling into question whether you can do your job.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, to do your job right, sometimes you have to piss them off. So then it creates this moral dilemma. And I encountered that a lot throughout my career. Before I became the Warriors writer, my first job at college, I covered Oregon State for the Oregonian, the paper in Portland. I covered Craig Robinson, Barack Obama's brother-in-law.
Yeah.
He was the head coach of Oregon State basketball.
Yeah.
He and I had an on-the-record conversation about him pursuing another job.
Was GP2 there when you were covering them?
The next year, yes.
Okay.
But this was the year before that. And he and I had a on-the-record conversation about him pursuing another job while he was still the coach. So I wrote about it. He was so upset, he refused to talk to me for 2 weeks. He called me out, he literally called me out by name at a press conference. I could not do my job for 2 weeks because I reported something that was on the record.
Yeah.
And that was my introduction to sports media, in the sense that of like the lines that you have to walk. A lot of people told me later, dude, you shouldn't have reported that. I was like, dude, it was on the record. Like,
yeah.
What do you mean? I have a responsibility to report that. They were like, no, man, you're gonna impact your ability to do the job. So I understand both sides, but I personally just got tired of walking that tightrope. I got tired of it. Like, I want to be able to just do my job. And on the news side, in my role now, like, I swoop in on random topics. I do in-depth stories on a very wide range of important topics. And, you know, like, if I piss someone off, dude, I'm probably never going to write about this ever again. So,
well, and Armando gets this perspective, and going back to graduate school certainly made me grow as an individual in a lot of ways.
But let me just say, like, I understand, like I said, I understand where that reporter was coming from, because it is a real problem. Like, you have to, like, it's not ideal to not be able to do your job.
But yeah, and the reason why I brought up the academia part is because you one of the many things you learn in as you evolve to become a scientist is you can't let like public opinion sway what's empirically true, right? But what I'm trying to tell you, Cyrus, is that when you're specifically like a beat writer and you're on the road with these guys every day, it does matter in terms of like, you have to do your job. You have to be able to talk to these guys. And so if you're going to write something that is going to impede your ability to do that, you at least have to factor it in. Of course. Yeah. Yeah. You're talking about a source reporter relationship. And what you say is also a huge reason why my master's thesis essentially focused on sports journalism as a concept being virtually impossible, because you have to maintain those relationships. And unlike a reporter in your position who covers public issues, the government cannot impede your access. A sports team could. I mean, if they went to that length, I mean, you could sue the shit out of them. I mean, there probably is cause there to go to that length if they're actually taking money out of your pocket. And again, we rarely, if ever, see that happen, except for very egregious cases. But like you said, man, if you're covering, let's say, Steph Curry, and you write a story that, even if it's accurate, even if you attribute it correctly, if it's gonna, let's say, affect his image, you're gonna have to give a second or third thought about that. And we've literally seen,
and like, I wrote things over the years that were critical of Steve, and like, Steve never like called me out. We never had like a, but we were not like, he wasn't calling me up. He wasn't giving me, info, and like, I just knew that was going to be the case. Like, we were not on that level, and I knew we were never going to be on that level, because I was
Honest,
take the approach that I was going to take.
Right. Honest, like just actually, not kissing
this
his
is
ass.
even before, like when I was a sports enterprise writer, I did do like columns where I actually did kind of call them out. But when I was a beat writer, I had a different role, and like I was objectively writing about things, and so it wasn't so much opinion based. It was like expert analysis, right? But like expert analysis,
I miss your analysis.
It was not all like positive. And
I miss your analysis. Like you were one of the first people who introduced me to net rating. Like you wrote a column about how Ty Jerome, his net rating is like by far the worst on the team. And I remember reading that paragraph going, what is this net rate? What's going on here? And then I started studying like the advanced metrics, and it all started with that paragraph. And you can be honest, right? You can report things factually and just let people,
because usually if you know what's going on and you have an opinion that's rooted in something, you can find factual statements to back it up.
I 100% agree. And we're going to play some sound from Steve Kerr in just a second. We'll do that the moment. Connor, I know you got to do you have to run in a second, or are you going to stay with us the whole show?
I can hang for a bit if it's cool with you guys.
Hell yeah. Armando, let me ask, gentlemen, this is a question for both of you. We'll hear from Steve Kerr in just a second. If it's even worth, I don't know if it's even worth going. Certain nights, it's like, what are we going to hear from this guy? Like I'll ask the audience this because we have an incredible audience, the highest IQ audience by far of any Warriors program. And if the chat doesn't mind answering this question for me, did Steve Kerr say anything that's worth us covering? Because I'm guessing on a night like this, the questions were generic, the answers were generic. Unless he was asked about Kaminga, maybe that's something we should bring up. But in the meantime, I want to ask you two this question, and Armando, I'll start with you. We saw Jonathan Kuminga get DNP'd the final 3 games of last season. We saw him get DNP'd in the first round series against the Rockets. And then the moment Jimmy Butler got hurt, he was just thrust back into the lineup. And then when Stephen Curry got hurt, his role increased even more so at that point. What I'm trying to get out of here is the general consensus is that all these DNPs, all the poor treatment, Kaminga's disgruntled. It's leading to a separation. It's leading to a divorce. Kuminga is eligible for a trade on January 15th. We're now 12 days away from that deadline. I personally don't think Steve Kerr's actions have anything to do with whether or not Kuminga is going to get traded. I also don't know what's out there that would entice the Warriors enough to make a trade. I don't like Daniel Gafford, for example. I do not think the Warriors would swap Kuminga for him because they are thinking about the future. They are thinking about next year. And Lacob still has faith in this kid, or at least still believes in him in terms of his potential. Armando, what's going to happen January 15th through February 5th? That's the window. February 5th is the trade deadline for the NBA as a whole. So the Warriors will have about 3 weeks to trade him if they want to. What do you think is going to happen? And what are your thoughts on everything leading up to now?
If I had to put money on it, I don't think he's going anywhere. The history of the league has shown no one is going to help a desperate team. No one's going to let them win the trade. And the only way they do it is if the power struggle between the front office, elements of the front office and the coaching staff goes towards the coaching staff, and they trade an unprotected first-round pick this year alongside Kaminga as a distressed asset to get a Steve Kerr role player that the other team doesn't even want and isn't going to take the Warriors anywhere. And if they do that, then as a fan, you are not operating with an ownership that an ownership group, a leadership group that can play winning ball. And it's right back to early 2000s Warriors, late 90s Warriors. And that would be the worst thing they could possibly do. They need to be in this draft as a top 4 team, top 4 picker. And I hope they know that. And we're about to find out whether do they have huevones or are they being run by Steph Curry and Steve Kerr? We're about to find out.
To Armando's point, like that's why none of this makes any sense. That's why I don't like what needed to come on tonight, because they're not going to find a trade that is worth it. So there is nothing. So sitting Kaminga makes no sense. It just makes. And if you really wanted to trade him, then you should play him 30 plus minutes a night. and showcase all his abilities and let him do his thing. It just makes no damn sense. Because the thing is, Mike Dunleavy is a smart guy. Joe Lacob's a smart guy. They're not going to let a trade happen that is not beneficial to them.
The Warriors ownership group, if they F this up by trading a unprotected first round pick with Kaminga as a distressed asset because they didn't have the bonus to fire the coach, then what they're saying is all these championships were only due to the fact that they drafted Steph Curry. That's the legacy that they're about to make. If they F this up, then they didn't have any kind of light years. They didn't have anything. What they did was draft one player. And
more than one.
They're really playing with fire right now. If they F this transition up, we're about to have 8-10 years of Greg Popovich, San Antonio Spurs losing. And
the reality is they're going to be really bad. They're going to be really bad when Steph retires, no matter what. Whether or not Kuminga's on the team, they're going to be awful for a long time. That's just the reality.
Yeah, but will they have a top 4 pick?
How awful will they be is the question.
And how interesting will they be? I think like having a team with upside is important. Like if you have a team that is progressing, gaining momentum, like setting things up for 2027, let's say, where maybe they just fall out of the play-in, but if there's a lot of potential and it excites the fan base, that is okay.
I think Armando, it might have been last week, you were talking about how good this upcoming draft was. I used to be really into the draft. Since I don't cover the league as much, since I don't cover the league anymore, I haven't followed it as much, but I went and looked it up after I think I heard you say that on the pod. And yeah, this draft is incredible. I actually covered AJ, how do you pronounce it? The BYU player. Depensa.
I have not been following college at all.
He's going to be the number 1 pick in the draft.
Okay.
He was at
BYU kid's going to be number 1.
Yeah, he was at Prolific Prep in Napa, and I went and spent time with him and did a profile on him and Stokes, who's going to potentially be the number 1 pick in the draft next year. They were.
Is that the dude right there? AJ Dinbonsta.
Yeah, I forgot how to pronounce it. Deponsa. His dad still texts me occasionally, but they were on a team up in Napa, and I went and spent time with them and profiled them. And good guy, future perennial all-star. Like, this kid is unreal, and he's just one of many great players in this draft. And there is this part of me that's like, in a hypothetical universe, I would love for them just to press reset and just tank. But there's not a world where they're going to trade Steph, and they shouldn't trade Steph. But
I do think
there's no point in being in the middle. Like, the 1920 season was kind of nice because they didn't have to make the decision. Steph got injured. He was out for the year. Then they just tanked because they sucked. And it was like, if he had stayed healthy the whole year, it would have been this awkward thing all year because they weren't very good. But he got injured, and so they just didn't have to worry about it. Unfortunately for them, they drafted this guy at number 2 named James Wiseman, who I don't know if you noticed just got waived for the 3rd time.
Did he really? But he was only in a 10-day contract, but that still sucks.
His career I think his career's done at this point.
Who knows?
But the whole trajectory of the franchise would be different if they had drafted one of 5 other players.
I just remember James Wiseman, his rookie year, looked promising. James Wiseman, and then he got hurt. James Wiseman, his second year, I'll never forget. Remember, he was injured. He was getting DNPs. Same story we're seeing now with Kaminga. He played 5 or 10 minutes in a Grizzlies game that at that point was a huge test. It was a barometer type game. He held his own. I thought he actually looked great, and then they traded him a few weeks later.
The best thing that ever happened to James Wiseman was that eligibility saga he had at Memphis, where he only played 3 games. If he had played the whole season, no way he would have gone number 2.
Man, who knows? But also who knows?
Because he couldn't play basketball.
Who knows what happens if he starts a career with? But who knows what happens if he starts a career, Connor, with a team where he has a coach who's invested in him? I'm never going to forget the fact that James Wiseman, his rookie year, had no hand issues. He had no fumbling issues. The dude, no one talked about the fact that every time he had the ball, it felt like a hot potato where he was fumbling and turning it over. Second year he did. And the fact that you see
he
that
lost
regression.
confidence. He was a guy who had a shaky confidence, and when your coach is yanking you in and out of the rotation for a young player. I mean, this is true in life, and even if you haven't played sports, life is all confidence. If you had parents who were telling you how much you sucked every day growing up, you probably didn't believe in yourself, and you're probably not very successful.
Which is why Kerr's approach to the young players is such a failed approach. Like, you're never building confidence with a herky-jerky, I didn't see good enough play in that possession, get out of here, maybe you'll get back in. That is not how you build confidence with young people. Armando, what does this team look like in August of 2026? Because that's the part of this that I think nobody is thinking about. But the front office is absolutely thinking about this. They have plans that date close to 10 years in the future. Like, they have shit mapped out, and they're not ignoring the fact that life goes on. There will be a season in 2026. And so for all the people who talk about Kuminga trades and they think that the Warriors are just going to flip him for a role piece that Steve Kerr might just banish to the end of the bench. And that's what I think of when I see Daniel Gafford, right? That's why I don't think there's a chance in hell you're trading for a big that might not even see time on the court because of Kerr and his nuance. And not to mention, let's say they blow this thing up after the season. What the hell do you do with Daniel Gafford? I mean, I guess you trade him for something, but my point is, I don't think the Warriors want to go into 2026 with just a black hole of a team. You have, this thing keeps going. Armando, what do you predict how's this gonna look like to you?
Yeah, they got it. They got to get in the lottery, and they're gonna flush the vets in the offseason. Draymond has a lot of trade value. He actually upped his trade value with those 2 games against the Spurs. In the same way that Al Horford got a max contract playing against Giannis at the end of his deal, like against one player. Draymond's has got value, and Draymond actually is still a leader. He's just being hung out to dry with 4 guards. And that's why he gets turnovers. That's why he's tired. That's why he can't hit threes in the fourth, only in the first. He just needs to be on a team. And he's a true champion still. And, Curry, they're not trading Curry because there's too much money in the final retirement year. All he has to do is say, I'm retiring. This is my final year. And it's, $1 million tickets or whatever for a whole season across the league. So who's going to be making that money? So I don't see him going anywhere. With Jimmy Butler, it's buyout time, baby. They're going to be paying Jimmy's buyout is going to be greater than Jonathan Kuminga's contract, and that's going to be sad. So I think it'll be a year of rebuild. The tank starts this year, but it's going to be evident to the fan base next year.
Of all the trade iterations I've seen out there, the one that made the most sense to me was Jimmy Butler for Anthony Davis.
Yeah. Me too.
That was the one that made the most sense for me, because then that's the front office forcing Steve's hand. That's the front office being like, bro, okay. Now you gotta play Kaminga.
Did you see Kerr's comments though about trading any of the veteran core, like in that interview with his buddy?
And I saw the reports they're not going to trade, and I saw that, I'm like, guys, are you not living in reality?
Well, just to let the audience know,
you're not a good team. One of the things that used to drive me crazy about Steve, because I remember the years where. Because we've had many years like this now where they've been like a play-in team, and Steve's always talking about the depth and how many good players we have. And it's like, but we're like halfway through the year and you're 500. Like, how good can they really be? And we're talking about, the Podziemskis of the world, and the Anthony Lambs in the world, and the Ty Jeromes of the world. It's like, dude, as we all know, the NBA is all about athleticism. These guys are a dime a dozen. One thing I learned about the NBA covering it was the back third, really the back half of the NBA, all interchangeable. 100%. All these dudes are interchangeable. There's so many guys in the Euro League, in the G League, what have you. Just pick one up, switch them in. The Juan Toscano Andersons of the world, pick them off a bargain bin and plug them in. They can help you out if you put them in the right situation. They don't matter. And you should not be worried about getting them minutes. You should be worried about getting minutes for the guys who have skills that someone in the G League does not possess. And that is someone like Jonathan Kuminga. No one in the G League has the physical tools that Jonathan Kuminga possesses. And you just have to embrace that.
No, agree. No, you're preaching to the choir here, but just to catch people up, Kerr in this interview said that he doesn't envision any of the veterans being traded, and I think he attributed Stephen Curry's comfort level as security as a primary reason why the team's likely not going to trade in any of the veterans, because Steph likes them. And then he added to that saying that the team's likely not going to trade any of their future first round picks because it isn't worth mortgaging the future. When I heard that, it felt like Kerr was repeating a message that was given to him by the front office. That like what? Maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's the message I took. Was the front office basically told Kerr, you did not push back on Kaminga staying another year. You're the one. This is your mess. You're the one who keeps saying he doesn't fit. You deal with this. We're done. And that's the vibe I'm getting. I could be wrong on that, but it also leads to a player that we have to talk about because it's polarizing. People hate it when I criticize him, and I don't give an F. And that's Brandon Podziemski. There's an absurd amount of folks out there who, when he has a great game, they come out of the woodwork and they're like, dude, he's just a good 3-point shooter. He takes charges, bro. He hustles out there, like talking about like pretending we're playing high school basketball here. And A for effort counts. Here is Brandon Podziemski's effort tonight: 4 of 13 from the field, 1 of 4 from deep, 3 of 5 from the free throw line. He is routinely one of this team's worst free throw shooters. The Kaminga haters love bringing that stat up with him, his free throw shooting, but they stay quiet with Podziemski. And the one stat, 4 rebounds, and the one stat that I keep nitpicking with is assists. Get assists, and I won't criticize you. Get 5, more specific. And he got 4 tonight. 12 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists for one of your top minute guys. And this is him. He's an average player at best. I don't get it. Yeah,
I think it's the role player in Steve. Like he gets obsessed with these esoteric skills that don't actually matter. And one of the skills that he always would come back to when I was covering the beat was the ability to execute a dribble handoff in transition. He was obsessed with that. He brought it up. Every guy, every non-athletic player he was obsessed with. He was like, he could execute a dribble handoff in transition, though. Like Anthony Lamb, Ty Jerome, all these dudes. It's like, cool. Is that gonna win you a basketball game though? Like, Pods can execute a dribble handoff in transition, and he can do a few other kind of very niche basketball things that Steve loves. And guess what? Kaminga's not as good at those things. But Kaminga could put a team on his back and win a basketball game for you. And I feel like Steve is like losing sight of that. He's like getting overly obsessed with it's like if you're managing a department at a company and you're like, yeah, he didn't close the sale, but he was really good at working, that coffee break or whatever. Like, it's like, you're just not focused on the things that actually matter.
Armando, you have been earlier than anybody in terms of calling this specific player out. And again, it's not, if he wasn't getting this egregious amount of minutes, he's 3rd on the team in minutes. For a guy scoring 12 points a game, for a guy who defensively is a massive liability, especially when he's out there with Steph. Armando, again, you were on this before anyone. I'm now on your team. Podziemski should not play this much. I don't know if tonight mattered. What are your thoughts on Podziemski lately?
No, I think it's a great point of what you just said about Kerr's love for these esoteric skills. It's not winning skills, and you actually see it through in the telecast. They'll basically, the telecast it's now all blaming the ref and giving credit for energy and hustle. Like, energy and hustle is the point of the game. They're like down by 30, and it's like, great effort on that rebound that he didn't get. And
turnovers, Armando. I'm hearing a lot of that too.
Yeah, and you know, turnovers and just if only we could hit our threes and the other team didn't hit so many threes. We're on year 4 of that. I wonder if there's a pattern or if there's any cause for that. It just continues to be presented as a random act of nature. And you know, and Pods, like, you know, I've been saying it, they've been playing 4-on-5 for years. And there's a reason why they miss all their threes in the fourth quarter, wide open threes. It's because they're having to play too hard, making up for this guy. I mean, he looks good because he gets left wide open. And he looks good because he occasionally, you know, like what happens is, I'm telling you guys, I'm serious about this. They are so bad, it actually confuses the other team. Like, you guys play ball, like, you know, when you're guarding someone that doesn't demand your attention or any kind of like whatever, you just don't try as hard. Like they literally have like 4 guys that you don't have to guard on the court at all times. And Pods is one of them. And you know, it leads to just breakdowns because the other team is just kind of like lackadaisical after a while. And it is so sad to see Steph Curry play piñata ball just to keep him in the games and then have to sit out these games. You know, like he's got to score 50, he's got to play 40 minutes, and they freaking lose to the Raptors. You know, and it's because of playing guys like Pods, not just Pods, but Pods next to guys like him, Buddy Hield, Dennis Schroeder, you know, like Pods at a small forward. You know, look up his stats where he's played. Like he doesn't play point guard. And, you know, if he was being played 10 minutes at point guard, you know, maybe it'd be a different story. But frankly, I don't know what team he'd actually make on any other team.
So, yeah. To your point, Armando, and this is something I've thought about a lot over the past couple years. You remember Pod's rookie year? He came on strong early on, and everyone was surprised. I think he was the 19th pick. Like people weren't expecting that much of him. And at the time, I was our sports enterprise writer, but I was helping out the beat writer a good amount, and I was writing
and net rating, Connor. That kept coming up over and over.
And
his net rating, bro.
I remember because like the big part of his story was like he could not crack the rotation at Illinois as a freshman. He was a big recruit. He could not crack the rotation at Illinois.
Wow.
It was a decent team at Illinois. They weren't, but I think they won the Big Ten that year, but they didn't go that far in the tournament. And so I'm doing my due diligence. I call up Brad Underwood, the coach at Illinois. And I'm like,
nice.
Hey, you didn't play him 2 years ago. Now he is getting big minutes in the NBA as a rookie. What do you think of that? And in a politically correct way, he was basically like, he's not actually that good. He's nice. Like, he was surprised that Steve Kerr would be this infatuated by him. He was like, he literally told me, he's like, he's not very athletic. He's not a great defender. We had guys in front of him who were more experienced and more athletic, and you know, and he's like, you know, he's a good shooter. He can do things, but like I asked him, did you expect him to be an NBA player? And he was like, I thought maybe if he stayed 4 years somewhere, like he would have an outside shot of like being a second round pick. Like that, and at the time I was kind of like, I was thinking maybe he doesn't really know what he's talking about. But you know, this is Brad Underwood. Okay, he is a very successful, high level college basketball coach. Before he went to Illinois, he took a team at Stephen F. Austin, which is not a good team. I think he took him to the Sweet 16. He is a good coach. Okay, is my point. And maybe he knows what he's talking about. Is my point.
And again, number 19 picks in the draft should not command this level of respect. Like what I'm trying to say is, yeah. If
you talk to Pods about Brad Underwood, he's like, F that guy.
Yeah, well, he left. I mean, he left after a year. Yeah. It was, you know.
And real quick, one last thing.
Yeah.
If you look at the draft, there has almost never been a player with his college trajectory that's been successful in the NBA. There are never guys who go to a high major and then have to bounce back to a mid-major and then go to the NBA and are good. There are tons of examples of NBA players guys who go to a high major can't cut it. They go put up numbers at a mid-major. They get drafted because they put up numbers at a mid-major. And guess what? They're not actually that good. he could not crack the rotation at a high major, goes and puts up numbers at Santa Clara, and he's just the exception.
That's a great,
or that's a pattern that we should be paying attention to. Here's what really annoys the ever-living shit out of me about Podziemski supporters, Kerr supporters. They're quiet tonight. You're not going to hear from them. Tomorrow, in predictable fashion, because the Warriors have been doing this for about 2+ years now, they can't beat the good teams for the most part. Last year, they actually had some solid wins, but they almost always involve Kaminga. But this year, it's so predictable. We've been saying this on the show from the start. That 23-8 run last year was against awful competition. The 5 of 6 that they just won, and now it's 5 of 7. But you heard people bragging about that. Well, they won 5 of 6 against awful competition. Utah Jazz are bad. So my point is, I'm getting just so damn sick and tired of these Podziemski apologists, Steve Kerr apologists, who only show up when their golden boy does good against bad teams. Because that's the only time he shows up. You only see these good numbers against awful teams, and you might see that tomorrow. My point is, I'm saying this in advance right now, because tomorrow night I'm going to be all alone. I'm going to be doing a solo show, and I'm probably going to be hitting that block button a bunch, because I'm done. I'm done with you trolls who only come out of the woodwork when he has a good game, which is one every 3 games he does it, and it's always against an awful team like the Utah Jazz. So just be prepared, all right? I have no patience for you folks anymore. And Armando, what's your take on that, man? Like you and your cousins are fans of sports. Have you ever seen a more fickle, borderline, just zero commitment to the argument? Only showing up when their guy does well. They're silent as a lamb when they do bad. What's your take on that, Armando? Because it drives me crazy.
I think you're dead on about Pod's empty stats against G League talent. That's been the case for a long time now. And in fact, his whole claim to fame was Game 5 against the Timberwolves. Like, he actually had one of the worst playoff performances I've ever seen against the Rockets and the Timberwolves. Like, I don't know what it was, and except for 2 games, and one was Game 5 when the Timberwolves were not even trying. It just tells me people don't watch. And he actually came through when there was no pressure, and that like gave him buy-in for this season. Like, Pods actually, that's why I have very little faith in this coach at all. Like, Pods got exposed in real minutes last year. After he did so well against the tanking teams of those 30 games at the end of last season, he got exposed. You find out about guys in the playoffs, but they were still bought into him. And, to your point about Illinois, that was fascinating to hear. I always believe that the reason he had such runway his rookie season, it wasn't really about him. He had that great net rating, but it was actually about how bad Klay Thompson was. That Klay Thompson was a borderline NBA player that year. And basically anybody who played for him was going to have a positive net rating that year. They were playing him defensively at power forward. He could not rebound, and he was taking bad shots and actually could not hit shots when it was winning time. And then we had to invent the word Klay up for all the missed layups. Not an NBA athlete. And, Pods looked good in that context. It looked better than the alternative. And that's where he got this massive runway. And frankly, going back to your guys' PR discussion early on, the amazing PR, I do think he plays for a money-making reason. And I do think it is out there to make the team palatable for the fan base. And, the floppy hair, the hustling, and the Rudy stuff. And
showing up at the Valks games.
Yeah. Like, if you actually watch their PR stuff, it's like Pods dancing to hip hop and other people like thinking he's cool. Like, that's literally an ad that they play at Chase. And it's a freaking joke if you're somebody that's actually trying to watch winning basketball, that someone's being played for that reason. And it gives me very little faith in this franchise. Like, it's not there's so many other things. I could talk about the Al Horford miss scouting. Like, it's doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. I'll say that.
Going back real quick to the previous discussion about Kuminga, one of the things that really bothered me recently was the quote from Steve where, and I've heard it over the years from Steve, like, he's not a guy who you can play limited minutes. Basically, right. if I'm not playing him big minutes, I can't play him at all.
That's a crazy quote. Yeah.
And it was such a crazy thing to say because what you're basically saying is that he is too good of a player to play limited minutes. So I'm going to sit him. And it kind of blew my mind because it's like, it's just a crazy thing to say. Like
it is.
Bad shit. And
bad shit.
I found myself just pulling my hair out like earlier in the season when I was hearing sound bites from him, like and like I said earlier, a lot of my following of this team is through this podcast. I listen to this podcast every day.
Well, how crazy did you feel remember when Kerr was asked about Seth Curry getting the DNP and Kerr was like, well, we had already played 11 players. And it was the fourth quarter. And then I swear to God, it was like the very next game, not swear to God, but I feel it was like the very next game where he played 13 guys and then Guy Santos was brought in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. What I was just going to say was he was basically saying like at one point, he basically said that he couldn't play Kaminga because Guy Santos is playing well. And like Pat Spencer was playing well. And I'm like, what world are we in? Are we in some like alternate reality right now? Like where you're going to have them in the same sentence even? Like, look, great for Pat Spencer. Pat Spencer is a success story. You guys have talked about it on the pod. I did the first big profile on him. Like, Wharton Award winner, lacrosse player, didn't play college basketball until he was a grad school student at Northwestern. Great story, man. You made the NBA. Cheers to you. Like, I'm happy for you.
Rudy.
But you're not like a rotation caliber player for a good NBA team because you're not athletic. Simple as that.
It's that exactly.
You're maximizing your skills, man, and you deserve all the credit in the world for that. But you are not freaking Jonathan Kuminga, okay? And Guy Santos, you're the only player in the NBA from Brazil right now. Like, good for you, man. You're also maximizing your ability. Dude was like the sixth man on the Olympic team for Brazil. Like, yeah, he's not that good. Okay, we're getting overly infatuated with these guys. We need to maintain perspective.
Because we have no choice. Because that's all he's playing.
And it's not just us. It's not just to me like somebody sitting on their couch saying this stuff. Jimmy Butler is on record with Anthony Slater articles on ESPN saying the entire season needs to be about integrating Jonathan Kuminga with the starters. And if we're not doing that, then we're not playing winning basketball. He's on record basically implying that. And it's just dropped. Nobody cares anymore. It's all good.
He is not only making a bad basketball decision in terms of not playing Kaminga, he is slowly alienating the players that matter. Like he is alienating Butler. He's alienating Draymond.
I think that's
totally my big takeaway from the whole spat the other day with Draymond and Steve was the post-game press conference. And I know Draymond. I was around Draymond for years. I know
all these guys. Yeah.
How he feels about things. He is so done right now.
Wow.
That is him being on his best possible behavior.
You know what's crazy?
Wow. He is
right.
Done.
You're right. I almost feel like whatever went on in the talk between Kerr and Dre after that incident, I don't know what Kerr said to Dre to get him to buy in and suddenly say all the right things. But I don't know if you saw that clip where he was on with the Inside the NBA guys and Charles Barkley cracked that joke where he was like, Dre, we'll see you in the playoffs, like basically insinuating that they're not going to make the playoffs. And then everyone's laughing, and the Dre is like, "Hey, Shaq, I'll bring my rings. You want to bring it?" Like that's always the clap back is, "Well, we got rings and you don't, Chuck." But the fact that Draymond, that was the reason why I bring that up is because that was the first time I've ever heard Dre not push back on the narrative that his team won't even make the playoffs.
Draymond has grown up, and he has learned what he should and shouldn't say publicly. And I actually give him a lot of credit for that. And I actually thought the way he handled the whole situation the other day, given how far he seemed to be pushed, I actually thought he handled it as well as he could. People give him a lot of flack for going to the locker room. It's like, dude, if you know Draymond, if he was pushed like that 3 years ago, it would have been a different story, man.
And Armando,
a much bigger story. I'll just say that.
Well, Armando's show is called Sprewell Was Right, and we could have potentially been encroaching on that similar territory here. You're right.
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah,
Connor, if we haven't seen some maturity there.
Connor, have you seen anything ever within a 1 week span? The owner leaking an email saying he's frustrated with coaching decisions by implication. A high Hall of Fame IQ player storming off the court because he cannot get through to his coach. And then the coach saying, we had our run last year. This is a natural part of life, is just loser talk.
So this is
within 1 week.
This is why I wanted to come on tonight, because it's driving me crazy because I'm adjusting to being a casual spectator now. Like I don't write about the Warriors at all. I don't write about sports. I'm writing about mass shootings at birthday parties. Like that's what I'm doing now. Like, and what's blowing my mind is I don't think people understand how absurd this entire situation is. It seems like people are just glossing over it, and they're talking about things that don't really matter. No, this is all that matters. Kuminga not playing, the absurdity with the dynamics, that is all that matters. I don't want to hear anyone talking about, honestly, even like pods and shit. Like, who cares? Like, this other stuff is what matters. And I just think I don't really understand it. I guess it's
I do. Connor, it reminds me a lot of how the San Francisco Giants used to be treated from the press, like where the team just convinces enough of the media to basically just be an extension of PR. They're a PR arm for the team, and you're seeing it all over the place. Like, no one is challenging this team. No one is holding Kerr accountable. Zero accountability, man. Zero. It's crazy. And I guess if there's good news, it opened up a lane for this program to emerge, since we're one of the only ones calling it out.
I do think it's a big reason why this podcast has been able to take off, to be honest. And
because it's niche. We have a niche, and it's sad though. I mean, it was never the intention to be a niche, which is, hey, we're the authentic people here. like there's no authenticity. I was bringing this up earlier, Connor. Like, I feel like the only two journalists who are trying to maintain a semblance of journalistic integrity, Anthony Slater and Nick Friedel. Like all the other folks are just
specific media members, because I'm like friends with these people.
Of course, I'm not expecting you to. But what I'm trying to say is that, and I'm not saying like the rest of them are like, like in Kerr's pocket or they're trying to make him look good. But what I am saying is the rest of them, I think they're either just persuaded, like, right? The cult of personality is something I bring up a lot. Like when Steve starts a press conference and goes, "Hey, Danny."
Yeah.
Hey, Sam. Right.
No, I will say that, and you and I have talked about this, that the ability for Steve to know every media member's name goes a long way. And we're talking about we're all human beings.
Yeah.
Some of these media members are, on the fringes of the Bay Area media scene, and he knows their name and he makes them feel valued. And like, especially if you're someone who's like struggling to even be in the room, like that goes a freaking long way. Like, Steve Kerr knows my name,
Yeah.
Like, and I'm just saying, like, that does go a freaking long way. Not only does he know their name, he might remember your birthday. He might remember, your girlfriend's name.
And he makes eye contact with you, and it really hooks you in. Like, because he looks right at you, and there's, again, he has a very special charm.
One great example. And look, like, I have nothing against Steve personally. I actually think he's a great person. I'm just talking about, like, I think he's an absolute master at messaging. That's probably his greatest skill, and that's part of why he was good with, the teams early in his tenure, because it was a lot of managing ego. Messaging really plays into being able to manage ego. And I forget exactly what it was, but he had that long soliloquy a few days ago where he was talking about beauty in the struggle. And I was like,
I hated that.
I had heard he's said things like that over the years when they're not very good.
I hated that.
And I was like, this is the ultimate, this is he's not actually saying anything.
No,
if you actually pay attention and really listen to it, he's not actually saying anything. But it sounds so good where you're just probably if you're just not, not that well versed on this stuff, you're like, oh, that sounds like amazing coaching. But it's no, you're actually just, what you're doing is you're making excuses for being shitty when you shouldn't be shitty, is what you're doing. And it's one of his great gifts. Not a lot of people, not a lot of coaches could spin that in such a beautiful, artful way. I mean, I listened to it twice and I was like, wow, the way, because I know Steve, and he went out that day and was had it in his head. He knew what he was going to say. He was written out in his head, and it sounded great.
Yeah.
And guess what? Everyone wrote positive stories that day about the beauty in the struggle. Everyone freaking went out and bought into the narrative and were beauty in the struggle.
They eat that shit up.
And it was guys, think about what this actually means and why he's saying it.
Armando, as a sociology professor, does Kerr remind you of anyone in terms of great, just great leaders, or you don't have to use the word great, just leaders? Does he remind you of any leaders with the rhetoric and the style?
I call Steve Kerr the second luckiest man in Western civilization.
Behind who?
George Bush Jr. And Donald Trump is behind him at number 3. But
who's number 3? Say again. Who's number 3?
Donald Trump is behind Kerr.
I like that. I mean, that really tells me that you know your stuff. The fact that you put George Bush,
and then Brandon Podziemski is 4, right?
I don't know. My dad went to college with George Bush Jr.
Goddamn rimshot.
And he was the dude was a dummy. He was just partying.
Wow.
Well, this is a big question, and as we start to wrap it up here, I feel like we've had a phenomenal show here. And again, considering the way the Warriors played, losing by 37-38, don't be surprised if a fine gets levied from the NBA for this. By the way, I don't think the NBA was thrilled that the Warriors chose to just bench their 3-star.
They got to get fined. If they don't get fined, it's the system's broken. This is exactly it's a marquee game against the defending champs.
And by the way, if you listen to Brent Barry tonight doing the color commentary, Chris Mullen even joined him for a little bit. That's my guy, man. I want him as the next head coach. In case you ever wonder, Cy, who are you going to replace Kerr with? Brent Barry, and he was eloquent tonight. I think he'd be awesome. But this is the question I have, which I think is running through a lot of people's minds, and my greatest wonderment is a setup to this question, which is. And Armando, I'll start with you, and then Connor. I would really love your answer, given your background covering this team. What is Joe Lacob thinking, in your opinion? And do you think he's going to do anything?
It's a great question.
Yeah,
Armando, what do you think?
I don't have enough data. I mean, I suspect he knows the moron. It's a moron boss that you have working for you, but there's a talent that doesn't want to somehow owe something to him, so you can't do anything about it. And but I don't know if he's got the huevones to make a deal, to make a change. I don't know if he does. I don't know exactly. I don't have enough data to know.
I think he is incredibly loyal to Steve, but I think he's at a point right now where he's being pushed to the brink. And I think the email situation was a great example of that. If you're a boss of a company and you really like someone, but they just keep effing up, you can only continue to like them for so long. There is a limit to this. Yeah. And I think that
Connor, isn't the limit ticket sales? Are people going to still keep showing up to watch loser ball?
Yeah.
Ticket sales definitely matter, but and they kind of go hand in hand, but just being relevant, nationally, matters a lot. Like, it's not just about like making the playoffs. It's about being relevant. And generally speaking, if you have Steph, you're probably going to be relevant. But like, how did
him and Goober connect? Because, and I bring that up because I always get a strong sense that those two understand how to make things entertaining. It's part of the magic behind their ownership. And Peter Guber's an infamous movie producer. Again, Batman, the Michael Keaton Batman. He produced that. His name's right there at the beginning of the credits. How did those two connect? Do you know? Did you ever dig into that during your time?
I believe, if I remember correctly, they had connected on like a previous ownership situation.
LinkedIn? No, I'm kidding.
There was a time where Lacob was trying to buy the A's, and I believe he looped in Goober for that.
And he used to own the Celtics as a minority owner.
Yeah, he was a minority owner. Rich people know other rich people. But I am fascinated about this because there is, and this is complete speculation on my part, but there is a part of me that feels like Lacob might be at the point where he's starting to think, okay, what is the exit strategy with Steve? And because he doesn't want to just fire Steve mid-season. Like, he does probably feel like he owes Steve better than that. But also, like, if you listen to a lot of the sound bites from Steve and stuff, it does kind of feel like Steve is like weirdly resigned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, it feels like he's kind of just like, he's kind of like acting like someone who is just like done. Mm-hmm. And so, like, if I'm Joe, I would call up or meet up with Steve and I'd be like, hey man, like, I'm seeing kind of how you're acting. I'm seeing what's going on. Like, how you feeling, man? Like,
fading dynasty,
like, are you tired? Or are you ready to? Because if you are, like, we can work out a way to get the messaging out where it's like we're all good. You don't have to be fired. We can be a mutual parting the ways. We can leave on good terms. Like, the thing is, Steve's hay is in the barn too. He's gonna be in the Hall of Fame, all that good stuff. Like, everything's good. Like, if he does get fired, I think people overstate how much that matters. I think if Steve got fired midseason, it wouldn't actually matter in the great scheme of Steve's legacy. I think it'd be fine. I mean, the dude won you 4 titles. Like, his legacy is secure. Like, Klay got traded, Klay signed in a free agency somewhere else.
It was a sign and trade. It was a sign and trade.
Or whatever it was. And it doesn't matter. Like, it just doesn't matter. Even if in a hypothetical situation they traded Steph, which they never would, it wouldn't actually matter. And I think people are way too caught up in like optics and like how it looks and feels. And it's like, dude, you just got to do what's best for the team right now. If it's not working, you got to make a change. Mm-hmm. The fact that he won you 4 titles really shouldn't matter. And Steve should even understand that. I mean, they fired, Mike Malone was like less than 2 years removed from winning the Nuggets a title, got fired midseason.
Well, Connor, 5 of the last 7 championship teams have fired their coaches. Steve Kerr and Mazzulla with Boston are the only guys left. And I've always said a head coach in the NBA is such a grossly overrated job in terms of its impact and role, which is a huge reason why that would be a job I'd love. You're getting what, $5 million? Even if it's just $1 million a year. Like,
who was that guy you had on recently who he like analyzes NBA coaches?
Awful coaching,
and he basically said there is not a good coach in the NBA.
He's kind of right. Look, if you're a fundamental,
but I would push back on that. Eric Spoelstra, man. Eric Spoelstra.
Fair, but did you hear what he said? Because I brought Spo up. And he was like, dude, his dad was an NBA guy. He got his foot in the door. And the only reason why I didn't push too hard back on Spo.
I think his dad was like a scout or something, right? What?
Yeah, something. I don't know. But I didn't push too hard back largely because with Spo, I do feel like it's maybe more of a Pat Riley thing. And Spo's just sort of like his conciliator, if you will. Only, he sits on the bench while
super fun fact that I'm just going to throw out there. I'm from Portland, Oregon. I went to the same high school, Jesuit High School in Portland, Oregon. Mike Dunleavy Jr. and the coach for the Nuggets, David Adelman, were on the same high school team at my high school. And Spoelstra went to my high school as well.
Did he play?
He was older. Yeah, he was a star player for our team. I grew up watching Mike Dunleavy Jr. in high school. Like I was in third grade watching his high school games. It's crazy.
That is crazy. Armando, what was the vibe tonight with the cousins on Sprewell Was Right? You guys did a show during the game. Was it just you guys trashing the team for like an hour?
No, we were looking at the whole week and
let's do that now. The schedule. Yes. Go ahead. Keep going. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
We were looking at the past week in terms of the Raptors game, how much energy was expended there. Playing 4 guards with Draymond Green at the 5, with 4 guards. Draymond Green has to play matrix ball just to keep them in the game. And we were like, this game, they lost this game. That was a sick, sad joke, and they're paying for it. They're going to pay for it. And we should look at the schedule for January and February. Everybody thinks it's going to be easy, and all I see are a bunch of L's. And
they're saying it's easier, Armando, because starting with tonight, you have 11 straight games in California. 10 of the 11 are at Chase Center. The one trip is down to LA, and that's going to be Monday against suddenly a Clippers team that's suddenly playing good basketball again, largely because Kawhi Leonard has rediscovered the fountain of youth and is putting up career highs. I don't know if you've been following Kawhi Leonard lately. The guy's like dropping 45-point games, 50, like setting career highs repeatedly in like the same week. And again, who knows how long this is going to last, but this is the stretch right here, at least coming up. And it's even though they're at home a lot, some of these games are not gimmies. Like at LA, not a gimme. Hosting Milwaukee, who knows? I mean, which version of Giannis is going to show up? Who's going to show up there? I don't know if Atlanta's an easy one. I don't know if Portland's an easy one. New York's not going to be easy. Charlotte was missing Miles Bridges the last time they played. Who knows if that makes a difference? Miami's not going to be easy. We just saw Toronto. That's your homestand. What are your thoughts on that?
So, according to Tankathon.com, which is a legit site,
I love it.
The Warriors have the 8th easiest schedule the rest of the season.
Okay.
And one thing that's mind-blowing to me is that OKC has the easiest schedule the rest of the season.
Wow.
Dude, OKC. My God, dude.
Meaning they probably have the hardest schedule to this point.
And they got the Clippers draft pick. There's like another team that I think Utah, if it falls outside the top 8, they get Utah's pick. God,
they're 30-5 and have the easiest schedule the rest of the season.
OKC, dude. Armando, what are your thoughts on this stretch of the schedule, man? Like, is it easy now that we went through the teams?
No, Utah's a win. Maybe it'll be hard. LA, I think that's actually a loss. Clippers are playing better. Milwaukee's going to bring it. Loss. Sacramento will be a win, but it might be harder than you think because of the history that happened this summer.
In which Westbrook shows up, right? With the Russell Westbrook, who knows if he goes off any random night. If that happens, good luck.
Atlanta's a win. Portland lost. New York lost. Charlotte just played them to the 4th quarter. That's going to be a Charlotte win. Mark my words. Miami win. Toronto win. Dallas lost. Or sorry, they're winning. They're winning. So Dallas is going to lose. Minnesota, Warriors will win. Or sorry, Minnesota will win. Minnesota will win. So get to Detroit. They're going to lose to Detroit. Like Phoenix, LA, Memphis, loss. Memphis is improving. Like this, Zaza Azubuike said it the other day. Nothing's easy. It has transformed from Zaza Pachulia. Nothing's easy to it's never easy for the Warriors. All these games are going to be hard. Every other night. There's no back-to-backs. These are every second day there's a game. And it's going to be an absolute bloodbath. There's no chance that they're going to have this magical 10-0 run that they're hoping for against tanking teams. I don't think so. That's a tough schedule if you look at how bad this team is.
The masochist in me is like
– and now we know there's a masochist in Connor Letourneau. You S&M freak you. I love it.
No,
Go ahead, sir.
Even though I'm a casual observer now, like I will say it's hard for me to like say that I'm like a Warriors fan because like there's that objective journalist in me still. And like so I follow them, but I wouldn't say like I'm a fan. And
let me ask
like,
you this. Does your daughter, are her emotions affected by Warriors wins and losses? Is she there yet?
she's not there yet,
Okay.
no.
So when that happens, I'm going to wonder.
She likes Steph. You know, she has a framed autographed Steph jersey hanging in her room now. That he
That's
signed.
awesome, man.
But no, she's not at that point yet. She's a really good soccer player, and she's more focused on that. But there is a
Armando, real quick, sorry,
I'll be honest, that kind of wants to see them like lose a ton of games just to see what happens. Because I kind of want to see it get to the point where like they have to do something. Like if things get bad enough, Lacob's going to have to do something, and that's when things get really interesting.
Yeah. Something tells me Kerr's going to keep this thing just afloat enough. Like tonight was an example of Steve Kerr who doing just enough were to avoid that scenario, Connor. Like because you get games like the Raptors, like the 76ers game a few weeks back on the road. Like they've had some really tough losses that you could point a finger right at the coach for the rotations, for the ATOs, which used to be surefire things from Kerr. But tonight's decision was so that he can make sure they beat Utah tomorrow, right? Like that was the reality of this. Like he like Kerr saw this schedule and was like, we're not going 2-0 here. Best case scenario 1-1, and we're gonna get that by just loading up for the Utah game. And again, that strategy is designed just to avoid that scenario, Connor, because I think a lot of people would similarly love to see like Lacob and his hand forced. But I don't know if we're gonna get there, man. Armando, what do you think about all that? And what's your background? Is that Venom?
Yeah, Marvel Venom.
With but the red is what's throwing people off, I think. Like, why is Venom part red, like on his mask? It's like a half black, half Spider-Man.
It's from the 90s cartoon.
Interesting. Okay. Any final
the Warriors just had their easiest schedule of the year, the last week. And what did they go? Like 5-2 or something like that? I don't know.
Yeah. They won, yes, 5-2. Yeah, correct. Yeah, that is correct.
Since the Phoenix, they lost Phoenix, they split Phoenix. Ever since then, that was this is it. This is the easiest. That was it. It ain't gonna be that easy from now on.
It'll be interesting. Final thought. I'm dying to know what happens with this Kaminga situation because, again, if things made sense, he's long gone and probably for the best. But things have not been making sense for like 3.5 years, man. It's maddening.
It'll be really interesting. Is it January 15th?
January 15th is when Kuminga is eligible to be traded.
It'll be really interesting to see what happens after that because, like, I really don't think he's getting traded. And then, but it's just what's going to happen is after that January 15th deadline, every day is just going to get more awkward and more awkward and more awkward and more awkward. So things are already awkward and they're going to get more and more awkward. So that's going to be really interesting. And because I agree with Armando, I just don't see them trading him because there's not a trade that makes sense. And Dunleavy, I think Dunleavy is pretty good at his job. He's not going to make a trade just to make a trade.
Agreed.
But it might force them to have a serious conversation with Steve. I don't. If they haven't had that conversation, I don't know why they haven't had that conversation.
Exactly.
I think they'll be 1 or 2 games below 500 on January 15th. If I'm looking at the schedule.
And then what?
And then I think Connor's right. It's going to be they're not going to be able to trade Kuminga.
To me, the move would be trading like Butler.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I feel
for
like
Steve's hand.
Yeah.
That's why the Butler for AD trade logically, made some sense. Although who knows what's going to happen, dude. Now I'm hearing Atlanta, or I'm reading Atlanta's like aggressively pursuing Anthony Davis, and
everything you see is just like, oh, but the Warriors love everyone. Oh, but they love everyone, but they're like a 500 team. Like it just doesn't add up. Like
if they trade for Michael Porter Jr., I'm telling you, Steve Kerr is going to play him at center, and it's going to be total 100% loser ball. They're not.
I don't see that trade happening. The Warriors would have to give up a lot to match the salaries. I'm guessing Brooklyn would ask for a lot. Michael Porter Jr. seems happy in Brooklyn. I don't know, man. And his
Michael
contract,
Porter Jr. is a loser.
and that. Well, he didn't win a title, but he was a role player on that team.
I feel like he's kind of a losing player though. Like
he's not a high IQ player.
Also, like, have you've seen his podcast hits? Like over here talking shit about the WBA and stuff. I don't think the Bay Area audience would like that very much.
No, that's true. That's true. Can't do it.
I mean,
can't do it.
You got to worry about that Peninsula crowd, dude. I don't think the Peninsula crowd likes WNBA bashing, right?
They already traded for a Nets player, a bad stats Nets player that Steve Kerr played 2 positions out of position. So they're not going to do that again.
I always liked Nick Claxton on the Warriors. I always thought he'd be kind of a nice fit on the Warriors. But, I mean, to be honest, like, not even that Brooklyn would do it, but, like, I wouldn't trade Kuminga for him. Like, Kaminga's a better player. He just needs to play.
Yeah, he just needs to play. Exactly. That's Steve Kerr is fit, man.
And
well,
like,
tonight, Will Richard, I think safe to say, was our FanDuel player of the game. I almost Armando, Al Horford was in the running. He played 15 minutes, 46 seconds, 3 of 5 from deep, added 6 rebounds. I mean, Armando, maybe your take on Al Horford, Big Al, it's wavering a little bit, buddy. He's looking good.
I gotta give you credit, Armando. Like when you first started coming on the pod, and I think early on, I think you started coming on like right when they signed. Am I right about that?
Yeah,
right around there, yeah.
Yeah. And when I remember you were out on Al Horford from the get go.
Yeah,
and I remember listening to you and being like, "No, he's wrong about that."
Me too. I was like,
and obviously you were right about that. So props.
100. But hey, he was 3 of 5 from deep in a night where they lost by 38. So, I don't know if he was right about that, Connor. I actually don't.
Yeah, he played okay today because they were playing the 2 big lineups. He can't play center. So, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, look, they lost by 37, right? 37, yes. But Big Al had 13. I don't know. Maybe it's still to be determined. I'm kidding. I'm being facetious here. Yeah, but Will Richard, who I thought actually looked. I love this kid. I don't know if you guys feel the same, but 13 points, 5 rebounds, added a steal. The 13 points, by the way, tied for the team lead with Moses Moody, who also had 13, and Big Al Horford, who also had 13. So there you go. Oh my God, this is where we're at, dude. This is where we're at, folks. I guess is there anything left to touch on? Any final thoughts? Connor Letourneau, who I hope this spurs you to come on more often, brother, because I've missed you in terms of us collaborating. So I hope you had fun tonight, is what I'm trying to say.
No, I definitely did. It was a lot of fun. Happy to be here. And, when I have other opportunities like this, which are rare, meaning that I have the house to myself on a Friday night, I will happily come on, but it is rare.
Loved having you. Armando Lara, again, people can subscribe to you on YouTube. The show is called Sprewell Was Right. They can also follow you on Threads at Mando_man10. By the way, you can follow Connor Letourneau on, I think it's the same handle on all social media platforms, at Con_Cron. Here, let me show that one more time. Right there. The Con is just CON_CHRON, representing the San Francisco Chronicle. Armando, any final thoughts? I even had someone in the chat. I highlighted this one post from Neo5 Cali, writing, Sai, can you let Armando sum up this past week? What is your Armando? What are your thoughts on the Warriors?
I already did. I talked about the Raptors game. Yeah,
all right, then we're covered. And Armando, anything else you want to promote or mention or anything?
Just Sprewell was right. Never choose the coach over the player. NBA 101. That's all I got to say.
Agreed. Then that should be such a simple concept. It should be the most basic of concepts, but not to this team. Connor, it wasn't like this when you were covering the team, was it? I mean, was it like it was? Are you out, Armando? Bye, buddy. Yeah, you got to run. Go. Have fun. Armando Lara, thank you again. Connor, before we go, I feel like it's just been tail spinning since you left. You left the beat in 2023, correct?
Officially, I left the beat really as the beat writer in 2021, but I was at the 2022 finals in Boston. I it's kind of hard for me to draw the line of when I wasn't, but I was covering the team in some capacity until February 2023.
Okay.
So
you left right. So you pulled a Bob Myers. You basically like looked at the scene and was like, out.
Yeah, and like people ask me all the time, like, do you miss covering the team? And I'm like, I mean, I covered the dynasty, man. Like, I'm good. Like, I'm not like missing covering like a 500 team. No offense.
It's a headache covering this team, dude. I play this George Costanza clip from Seinfeld because I feel like it sums up the best what it's like to just have any involvement with the Golden State Warriors, even just as a fan, with an emotional connection being the limit. You still feel like this covering, observing, following this team.
All right, let's just stay calm here. Don't get all crazy on me.
Just stay calm.
I mean, the thing that's crazy to me is like having, being, I started being around the team in 2016. Like I'm the way I'm following the Warriors now, it's like through the podcast and stuff. And I'm not really watching all the games, to be honest with you. And like, I'm just hearing these sound bites from Steve and I'm like, I'm hearkening back to like, 2021, 2023, 2019, like the years when they weren't that good. And like, it's just like, he kind of reuses sound bites. And
yeah.
If you really pay attention, it just sounds like a freaking loop over and over.
It's literal insanity. Just the same shit over and over, and Kerr's expecting a different result. It's absolutely insane. Well, keep up the phenomenal work, brother, with the journalism that you're producing. Which oftentimes these stories are on the front page of the San Francisco Chronicle. What are you working on now? Before we go,
I'm working on a few things. The next bigger story I have coming out is on how like the housing crisis is migrating to the exurbs.
What's that mean? I've never even heard that term. Exurbs. What's that?
Exurbs, like the outlying suburbs. Like basically people move to the outlying suburbs because they can't afford anywhere else, only to be priced out again. And like, what does that mean for the future of the Bay Area? A lot of my stories now are like getting at the challenges of living in the Bay Area and like,
it's a nightmare.
Putting a human face on that.
It's an effing nightmare, man. So is it exurb? Is Tracy like an example of an exurb?
Tracy would technically not be a part of the Bay Area. My story is focusing on
Vacaville and Fairfield and those parts. Okay, so Solano County. What's the town just south, like Morgan Hill? Is that an exurb?
Yes, that would be an exurb.
Okay. Yeah. That area is also exploding too, right? Like all those.
Yeah, I mean, the way we define the Bay Area, it's 9 counties. And if you're in one of those counties, you're in the Bay Area. And Solano County is technically part of the Bay Area, even though people would debate that Vacaville is not really the Bay Area, but we say it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's all arbitrary. It's all subjective. Right? It's just technically it's the 9 counties, but it's like really who gives a shit. I don't know. Ken Valentine, Kino Valentino is asking, am I and Sharia still good? If you're referring to Sharia from Jersey, as far as I know, yeah. I mean, she just hasn't been around because Connor, I don't know if you're familiar with her. Like she had been jumping on a lot of post-game shows, and she's fantastic. And truth is, the show desperately needs more estrogen. We're officially, unofficially accepting applications, if that makes sense. But no, Sharia, I think she's starting work on a TV show. So she gave me a heads up that she was going to be busy with things. And yeah, Sharia, if you're watching this, you're missed. Come back, please. I'd love to have you. I thought you were asking about Chardal, because Chardal actually emailed me, was like, I can't make it tonight, Sai. I'm like, all right, we'll see you tomorrow. So tomorrow, Connor, you're not going to be with me. Here's what I predict. Here's my prediction. If you folks know Johnny Carson, this would be like a Karnak moment. Super old reference. I was a little kid watching Carson growing up. My prediction, the Warriors handily take care of the Utah Jazz. They cover that 12.5-point spread. And then the comment section is going to be riddled with folks trying to rage bait with pro Steve Kerr content, pro Brandon Podziemski content. This is where I really wish I had a producer, Connor, because I I don't think other shows are bringing the audience on. I don't think other shows have hosts engaging with the audience in the chat like we do here. I could be wrong with that. I don't know for certain, but what I do know is sports talk radio is the only format, as far as I know, that does bring their audience on routinely, but they have producers and they cut people off within like 2 seconds sometimes. Like somebody emailed me, and I have that clip stored for when Chardal's on next, where our good buddy, our typical closer, Chardal, was on 95.7 The Game, and he did his usual spiel. He sounded very professional. And then Mark Grandi was like, thank you. Just and then he had a producer just cut him off, and that was that. I don't have that luxury. So folks, it is a little easier to bait me. I do my best here. But for tomorrow, if you're coming on here pretending that Brandon Podziemski is some badass basketball player after tonight, yeah, I'm not going to hear it.
I hope the Brandon Podziemski listeners listen to this pod, because I thought like Armando and stuff did a good job of breaking down why it needs to stop. The love for him.
He's awesome. Hamza Kassem, before we go, Connor wants to know what your thoughts are on a potential Jimmy Butler for Anthony. You already talked about this. That Hamza Kassem, we both said that it makes the most logical sense, right? Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, that's the one trade I've seen out there that to me makes sense. Now, everyone's going to say AD's injured all the time. Yes, but like, I do think it's worth doing. Because it would solve multiple problems. They need a legit big, and also defensively it would help, and also you would think force the hand with playing Kaminga.
I hear you. Chosen People, who came on the show the other day as to defend Steve Kerr. I thought we had a very cordial, professional back and forth, saying that I'm the easiest person to bait ever. Oh, that's a shot. But again, I turn this around on you. What other hosts are out there making themselves this open and available for like anybody? Are there other shows doing this, Connor? I mean, I feel like you have your finger on the pulse of paradigm.
I haven't listened. I mean, I listened to one other Warriors pod, and shout out Warriors Huddle. I don't think think that they're easy to.
They record all their shit. I don't think they go live at all. Right?
Yeah, no, they don't. They don't. They record.
So I have a little courtesy, folks. Come on, man. I'm doing my best. I'm just a human being. I'm fighting a million fights. I mean, Steve Kerr has this whole media scene and wrapped around his finger. And when we clearly know that's problem 101 is the head coach and all this nonsensical bullshit. Connor, before you go, I want to let people know, man, you've got it dialed. You got the perfect family. Well, perfect, relatively speaking, right?
My life is perfect.
But it's you've got a beautiful family. You're killing it with the job. Are you going to win a Pulitzer this year?
I wish, man.
Well, yeah, I know you wish, but I mean, your work is so good. I feel like it's a realistic proposition. Like,
I appreciate that. Not this year. Not this year. That is a goal though. Someday.
Okay. I think you will do it, brother. You're on the path. I love your work. Thank you. One more time, people can follow you on social media. It's relatively simple. Con_Cron is your handle. Join me on Threads, dude. It's far more civil. Still talks like they all are, but and you're already you have a good presence on Instagram, so that it just integrates. That's the beauty of Threads. You just start your account.
My Instagram is like personal though. I don't post like professional stuff on there.
No, what I'm trying to say though is like if you activate your Threads account, all those followers will just automatically come. So it's not you're not starting with a blank slate.
That's good to know. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can just like get on there and just
I am really tired of Twitter, so
it's all batshit crazy. I love you, brother. Come back soon, please, will you?
All right, appreciate you, man. Thanks for letting me come on last minute. It was a lot of fun.
I appreciate you reaching out and coming on last minute. The door is always open for you. Once upon a time, you and I talked about doing a show together. I still, that door is always open. I know you're busy as F, but if you're ever up for that.
I mean, I would love to. Yeah.
Me too. Yeah. All right, brother. We'll see each other soon. We're long overdue for drinks. We'll do that soon, I hope. Congrats on everything again. Thanks, audience. We're back less than 24 hours. Warriors and Jazz. We're done? Bye-bye. Yeah.